Good morning. Put my tea down. I'm posting this Coffee with Carla, this little episode, a little later than usual for a couple of reasons. One, I legit totally slept in today. I did not wake up until later than I ever do. And the second reason is because as I was journaling with my first tea, I was like, do I talk about this? Do I not? Because I had a topic that I want to talk about, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't. And that's fighting when you're married. So do married people fight ever? And then I was like, uh, hell yeah, they do all the time. Like healthy couples fight. So I I had a fight with my husband last night and I kind of want to talk about it, but like just so you know up front, I'm not gonna like air all my dirty laundry. Like this is not gonna be Jerry Springer. This is you know, I don't like drama. I like solutions. I like reconciliation, that kind of thing. But I think that it's something that's not really talked about. Like, if anything, it's the opposite. We're all like, oh, yeah, we have the perfect relationship. Like, look at us on Insta. Aren't we cute? Aren't we so cute? You could puke a little, like, kind of. Um, so, so last night's argument was the third argument of the same argument, if that makes sense. And I can tell you what it's about because I don't think it's super private. I guess I'll find out when my husband comes home. He'll be like, you did what? Anyways, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Our argument was about arguing. Do we or do we not argue in front of the children? So this argument started years ago. And so we decided, you know what? We should probably not argue in front of the children because they're young and don't really understand what's happening. All they do is like feel mommy and daddy are upset, So we thought, well, it's probably a good idea to like just, okay, we don't agree on something and we'll say, okay, we'll talk about this later and then we'll whatever it is with the kids. But do we feed them solid food yet? Do we not? Whatever it is, we'll discuss that later. Well, we won't make any changes until we discuss it. So yeah, that was our first argument, which we had. And I don't even know if you can call it an argument because neither of us had like a strong side. We were both like, I don't know. What do you think we should do? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What does Google say? No, but we decided, okay, well, no, let's go behind closed doors, and then the kids will see our united front. This is what mommy and daddy think. So then, not that long ago, we had another kind of argument that stemmed from like either he or I, one of us started arguing, like, I don't agree with what you're doing there. And it was like, well, don't we do this behind closed doors? And then it was like, well, okay, for now, that was our agreement. So let's do that. So then we changed it. We were like, you know what? They're getting older and they know now, we think it's healthy that they know we do argue, we do it in private, and we always have a resolution. So now that they know that, maybe the next level is to watch us work through our stuff. And so that was where we left off last time. So then last night, I was like, okay, well, let's work through this. And he was like, oh, let's talk about this later. I was like, well, but we said, and anyway, so it sort of escalated not too much from there. Like we don't, it's not like it's not that bad. So, but I was still upset, like still pretty upset because we made an agreement and now it's not working. But I still wasn't sure, should we or shouldn't we? But just now I thought I just found the answer actually. I'm gonna tell you, thanks for talking me through this. I think that it should be a case by case thing because some things I'm super okay with the kids hearing us discuss, but some things I'm like not. So I think it has to be case by case. That's going to be tonight when I do discuss this with my husband. Yeah, you're the first to know. How do you feel? So yeah, I think case by case is what we'll do. And I know like a lot of people think don't go to sleep angry, but I was kind of angry. I was upset. Not like angry, but well, a little. But it was really late. I had to go to sleep. So I don't really agree with that advice. Like never go to sleep angry. Always work it out before you go to sleep. I think that's ridiculous. I think sometimes you need to cool down too. So there's that. Anyways, but then I woke up in the middle of the night after like 3 hours of sleep, and I felt totally like awake. So I thought, shoot. And I wound up watching a podcast, like a YouTube podcast. And it was actually really interesting. And I'll talk about that in a sec. Actually, no, I'm going to talk about it right now, because what I saw was two people who kind of have really different views. And it was Joe Rogan. Have you guys seen Joe Rogan? Like, I actually don't that much. I don't watch a lot of like Netflix or YouTube or whatever. I mean, I do, but I'm not, I don't know. I'm like the last person to discover Joe Rogan. It's got like 10 million subscribers. So dude's doing all right. And I watched a podcast and now I see why. He's good. Like, he's really good. So he had Ben Shapiro on his channel, who I have heard of before from another guy talking about Ben Shapiro. I don't know a lot about Ben Shapiro, but except for his name. And it's a couple things that I really like. The thing that I learned about myself is that this Ben Shapiro guy is a conservative. Like, he's a very politically involved person. And I'm kind of shy away from politics. I'm like, yeah, other people handle that. And I don't want to. But I do know that I think that things aren't always black and white. I think that I don't know my political views that well. I know that I like the Green Party because I like Earth. And I think there's a way to make money and save Earth at the same time. So there you go. But I do also agree with a lot of his points. Not all of them. But what I did learn on that specific podcast that I watched last night, which was like episode number 1513 or something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but dude's done a lot of interviews. Like 1,500. Does that mean he's done 1,500 and something? Or did he start on 1,000? It's kind of like receipt books do. I don't know. Anyway, they disagreed with each other, like, often. But it was really healthy the way they discussed things. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how is that possible? If they're on polar ends of some sort of divisive topic, how do you still have an adult conversation about it? Because I think that's what's missing in most conversations today, is that there's so many polarized, divisive arguments out there. And most of the things I'm seeing on social media is like, you're either for it or you're against it. And what I learned is, no, there's a third option, which is some of this side is good and some of this side is good. So like a lot of the things that Ben Shapiro said was that, I think this, and Joe Rogan would be like, well, okay, but what about this argument for that? Which I thought was really respectful, so, okay, I hear what you're saying, right? So he's listening. And then he said, but what about this argument? Because this is pretty convincing. To which Ben Shapiro would fully acknowledge, yeah, you're right. And as someone who's watching this fight, like, when you think, oh no, oh, there he goes. Oh, do I brace myself for impact or do I go get popcorn? Like, is this going to be exciting in this argument? Back to the Jerry Springer thing, but it wasn't. Like, it was interesting. I was riveted. It was almost 2 hours long and I watched every minute of it. I didn't even speed it up or anything. Not that you can, because Ben Shapiro speaks at like 1.75 the speed of most humans, so you couldn't speed it up anyway, so there's that. But it was really interesting how Joe Rogan sort of, what do you call it, modus operandi or whatever that saying is, his is always just be respectful, but don't be shy of disagreeing. Be like, and he would a couple times said, I think this is where we're going to disagree the most, and then they both laugh. So they both have sort of that underlying tone that we're still friends or whatever. I don't know what their relationship is, but that underlying tone is still, we will still respect each other at the end of this conversation. So when you have that preconceived, just that's a given. That's a given. We're adults and we're going to shake hands at the end of this, or elbow tap, or whatever COVID does nowadays. I don't know. I didn't see they were socially distanced behind the little microphones, but the fact that, so Joe, what he does, I love psychology and how humans interact. This is one of my favorite things in the world. If I wasn't a yoga teacher, I would go into psychology because it's so fascinating. So Joe's thing is he will approach something, not be afraid to approach it, but he will do so very, very respectfully. Like, okay, but have you thought about this? And so he will very carefully lay out his points, but he's not saying it in order to be like, yeah, but this. He's like, so, but what do you think about this? Very different, very distinct, right? I'm interested in what you have to say. What do you say about this? I'm curious. What do you think about this? So that is a whole different perspective. That's not throwing that in their face like you hear in most debates. Yeah, well, this, meh. It's what do you think about this? And then in response was, I agree with everything you said. He said that several times, or he didn't. But he would say, okay, here's why I disagree with that point, even though it sounds like that makes a lot of sense. And then oftentimes he would say something like, but that's a snapshot. That's not, that's not the whole picture and the whole data. If you actually look at the numbers, blah, 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 blah. I think he was talking about like the police brutality, that kind of a thing. And so that was a heated topic. But he had the statistics, like actually the statistics are this, and then Joe Rogan will go back to say, okay, so as you say, my point is anecdotal, but when you have like thousands of anecdotal stories, that's no longer a coincidence. That's now a thing. To which Ben Shapiro was like, that is a good point. Absolutely. So yeah, that should be looked at too. So neither was straying from their original opinion, but they both conceded to some stuff. So that is so cool. And I would love to see more of that. And I'm actually going to take that into my own world and with my husband, with my kids, with my whatever. There's always an option C. It's not just A or B. Are you for abortion or against it? Because some of these topics are like, oh my God. But there's often like, well, I believe that, this is good in this case or that's good in that case. So case by case sometimes. And it doesn't, that's the good thing about opinion is it's your opinion. A, that means it can change. And B, everyone is entitled to their opinion. It's not wrong. Your opinion is not wrong if you believe what you believe. So yeah, love that freedom of speech for that reason. I do think everyone should have a voice because no matter how outrageous the story is, like, even if you're talking about the earth is flat, like, okay, there might not be a lot of truth to that, but like the earth isn't a perfectly round ball. It's a little bit of like, it's oblong a little. I'm just saying, like, there's to every crazy stance, no matter how crazy you think it might be, there might be a hint of truth to it, and you won't find it if you're not open a little bit. So I think that fighting fair is really important, especially in a marriage, especially if there's children involved, because they feel it, whether we know it or not. We sometimes think that they're too young to understand, but they feel it. So fighting fair is really important. I think that when you honor your spouse and have that underlying that I talked about earlier, like that underlying everything will be okay. This is a disagreement. Unless things cross over, right? Like if your disagreement ends in a right hook, like I think you might want to rethink your relationship. That might be a deal breaker. Abuse of any kind is not okay. Physical abuse is not okay, nor is psychological abuse. And that's something I've really researched a lot lately too, because that happens more than we know. I might even do an entire video about it because there's some stories that I've heard that are like, whoa, how did they not just leave? The mind is an interesting, really fascinating topic. Anyways, so yeah, that's what my morning coffee was about when I was journaling in my first journal before I switched it up to my second journal, because that's what I do, because, I can't have enough journals because journals are fun. And I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. I often will let you guys know sort of what my day is going to look like. Yesterday was the full moon, and maybe that's why we had a disagreement. Oh my gosh, every one of my family members came home at the end of the day, like after school and after wherever we went. And let's be honest, I didn't go anywhere. And it was like, that was a terrible day. So sometimes just knowing that outside forces sometimes play a part too makes it feel a bit better. Like, oh, it's a full moon. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It feels a bit better. But yeah, the takeaway is just fight fair. You know, don't insult the person. You're talking about the idea or the thing that you are discussing, the concept, not the human. You know, we don't write off humans just because they have a different opinion than we do. And yeah, I would normally tell you what I'm going to do for the day, but I never even got that far. I'm still like feeling the effects of it. I didn't sleep very well last night. And so I think I'm going to take it a little easy today. I will probably do a little bit of yoga because yoga makes me feel centered. I don't feel like doing yoga today. Like, I'm not going to lie. I don't always feel like doing yoga. And today, days like today, I just kind of feel like having a hot chocolate and sitting on the couch and reading a fictional book for no reason or, and I might just do that. Some days you kind of need to take care of yourself, however that may be, but also sometimes taking care of yourself is doing the thing you don't want to do. And I know for a fact that doing a bit of yoga will make me feel better after. So probably I'll put on a video. The one that I just put out like this morning or yesterday, I don't even remember. When you don't sleep well one night, your days kind of mush together. But I did like an upper body vinyasa that it felt good after. So I might just do that. And I might take child's pose instead of vinyasa. But yeah, I think that's what my day will be like. I don't know what else I'll do. But I hope you have a really good rest of your day. And I hope that you took away something from this, that maybe you can look at your relationships a little bit differently and be really super respectful. Not that you aren't already. You guys are good people. I love you all. I really do. And yeah, I will see you next time. And until next time, namaste. Have a really good rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me.